I declared, I'm not obligated to offer intimacy, he should simply support me. Now he's gone, and I'm struggling to cover my expenses. Never did I imagine I would find myself as the girl in a half-empty apartment, enveloped by a sea of past due notices, yet here I stand. Allow me to express that relationships are not meant to conclude in such a manner. My name is Emma, and at 29 years old, I find myself on the brink of sharing the tale of how my meticulously designed life plan unraveled before my eyes. Upon encountering Nathan at Sophia's housewarming gathering, an unmistakable sense of distinction enveloped him. Unlike my disastrous ex Jake, who struggled to maintain a job at the warehouse for more than 3 months and perpetually required just $50 until payday, Nathan wore an expression that spoke volumes, his finger poised over the button, a stylish watch adorning his wrist, and a confident smile that suggested he was far removed from the struggles of living paycheck to paycheck. I ensured that I projected the image of a strong, independent career woman that evening, laughing heartily at his jokes and casually bringing up my recent promotion at work. Men are drawn to that independent aura, as it ignites a desire within them to demonstrate otherwise. Honestly, I had grown weary of the constant battle. Once Jake departed, leaving me burdened with 3 months of overdue rent and a credit card at its limit, I vowed that my next relationship would take a different course. My mother often advised, Emma, seek a provider before time slips away from you. For the first time, I found myself genuinely considering her counsel. Those initial encounters filled a void I hadn't even realized was there. He took care of the bill, sparing me the discomfort of that clumsy reach for my wallet, and recommended delightful restaurants where the main courses were genuinely substantial, rather than mere appetizers masquerading as meals. What I kept to myself was the way I began transferring my earnings from my weekend job into a hidden account that Nathan remained unaware of. Just a small bit of comfort, you see? A girl must always prioritize her own well-being. By the 3rd month, I found myself at his place 4 nights a week. Why should I spend money heating my subpar apartment when his place is twice as appealing? Upon receiving the key from him, I interpreted it as an invitation to bring over additional belongings. Men such as Nathan desire to feel indispensable, as though they are addressing your challenges. It seems to evoke an unusual allure for them, or perhaps something akin to that. It was during the 4th month that I first became aware of the change. We lay in bed, his hands beginning to wander, yet I felt utterly drained from the weight of a double shift. As I brushed his hand aside, I sensed him tense up next to me. We haven't really been intimate much lately, he said, his voice adopting that cautious tone men often use when they're striving to avoid sounding desperate. Is there an issue? In that moment, the realization struck me. We had settled into a rhythm. He covered the dinner, showered me with gifts, welcomed me to stay the night, and seemed to anticipate intimacy as some sort of compensation? The notion left a distasteful sensation within me. I was taken aback by the conversation that unfolded 2 weeks later. I think it's time we discuss our relationship, Nathan remarked one evening as we sat together in front of the television. He silenced the show, a clear indication that something was amiss. There seems to be an imbalance between us, he remarked with caution. You remain here for the majority of the time, while I take care of most of our expenses, and that's perfectly acceptable. Are you truly implying that my feelings for you are driven by your wealth? I exclaimed it with fervor, a sense of indignation coloring my voice, as one must when confronted by a truth that feels too raw to acknowledge. Because if you think I should just perform on command simply because you treated me to dinner, that's quite unreasonable, Nathan. He quickly recanted, expressing regret for his timing and extending an offer of assistance should I require it. The crisis has been successfully averted. Yet, an undeniable change had occurred, and we were both acutely aware of it. A week later, I found myself summoned to my boss's office. The reports, the grievances from customers, the delays in arrivals, it was all accumulating. I failed to embrace a more collaborative spirit. Regardless, I recognized the inevitable and chose to leave before she had the chance to dismiss me. Why remain in a position under a supervisor who evidently harbored animosity towards me? I chose not to inform Nathan immediately. Instead, I began to slip away from the apartment when he assumed I was off to work, filling my days with visits to coffee shops or the mall, returning home at the usual hour. The modest sum I had been discreetly taking from his wallet during his showers sufficed to pay for my coffee and lunch. It's not theft, it's merely a tax on the relationship, wouldn't you agree? An ideal opportunity presented itself when Nathan brought up a potential promotion that would demand additional hours but promise increased compensation. That's truly remarkable, my dear. You absolutely deserve it, I exclaimed over dinner. Then, with great consideration, I've been contemplating the idea of stepping away from work for a while. Perhaps I should seek out something that ignites my passion more fervently. In his eyes, a fleeting moment of hesitation flickered, clear and undeniable. Yet, Nathan, the one who provides, gave a nod. If that is what you require, do keep in mind your expenditures during this period of unemployment. A smile crept across my face, a wave of relief washing over me. Certainly. I excel at managing budgets. Yet another exaggerated claim. My savings could sustain me for perhaps 3 weeks of essential expenses, yet by that time, he would have adapted to taking care of things. When granted the gift of time, men find a way to adapt. Once more, he took the lead that night. I averted my gaze. A headache, I murmured. In the stillness of the night, his sigh pierced the silence. Little did I realize at that moment that this would evolve into our new reality. His hand extended, seeking connection. I am withdrawing. His willingness to cover all expenses. I searched for explanations as to why intimacy eluded us this evening. Initially, it was not a deliberate plan, yet it gradually evolved into one. What compels me to act in a certain way simply because he footed the bill for dinner or took care of my phone expenses? A true man gives freely, driven by his own desire to support, rather than by the anticipation of reward. At least, that's what I reassured myself as my brief respite from work lingered on. Nathan never explicitly confronted me, yet the inquiries began to arise with increasing regularity. How is the quest for employment unfolding? Had I contemplated this sector or that organization? It wasn't until that fateful night, when I caught the faint sound of Nathan's voice drifting from his home office, that the true peril of this game revealed itself to me. I'm uncertain, my friend, I caught his words, spoken in a hushed tone. It feels as though we are leading distinct existences beneath the same ceiling. A moment of stillness. No, it's not merely the tangible aspects, although those have essentially vanished now. It encompasses all. She left her job months back, asserts that she's on the hunt, yet I never witness her taking the steps to apply anywhere. I'm taking care of all the expenses, planning our outings, managing it all. A moment of silence stretched out, lingering longer than before. Indeed, Dr. Winters suggested it resembles financial exploitation, though that feels rather severe. We share a bond, not a yes, precisely. Is this Dr. Winters? Is it a therapist? A chill ran through me as the realization struck. Nathan had been confiding in another about our relationship, using unsettling phrases such as financial exploitation to describe me. It had been months since our last conversation, the last time I shared the news of how wonderfully things were unfolding with Nathan and how he was managing everything so well. Hubris had prevented me from acknowledging the reality. I found myself pondering, I continued, whether it might be possible to borrow a bit of money, just to help me regain my footing. Initial and concluding month's rent, along with the security deposit. I will reimburse you at the earliest opportunity. Darling, she interjected, her tone soft yet resolute. Your father and I find ourselves navigating the constraints of a fixed income now. Regrettably, we find ourselves unable to extend any additional resources at this time. Her words pierced deeply, for they contained a kernel of truth. Yet, I found myself disinterested in any imparted wisdom. Very well, I'll let it go. I ended the call before she had a chance to reply. As I navigated through the endless stream of Facebook updates, a post from our mutual friend Sophia caught my eye. Warmest congratulations to the joyous couple. She accepted the proposal. A photo accompanied the message, depicting Nathan alongside a blonde woman, her hand outstretched to reveal an engagement ring glinting in the light. On a beach, somewhere beneath the sun's warm embrace, they stood, tanned and smiling, a picture of bliss. I almost let my phone slip from my grasp. Are you engaged? It had scarcely been 2 months since our parting, and he was already betrothed? My inaugural training shift at Dusty's exceeded my worst expectations. The uniform I received was a size too small for my frame. With intention, I surmised, influenced by the sly grin that danced across Ray's face as he passed it to me. The familiar patrons were overly familiar, the fellow servers formed tight-knit groups, and by the time the evening drew to a close, my feet ached with exhaustion. There have been no tips since my training commenced. A week into my new routine with Dusty, I found myself utterly exhausted, both in body and spirit. The guidance provided lacked consistency. Some nights are bearable, while others are utterly dismal. I began the process of seeking room rentals, yet I found myself repeatedly rejected when they conducted credit checks or inquired about references. Nash's patience was beginning to fray. He had begun to neglect the courtesy of knocking before entering my room, increasingly making overt remarks about clarifying our arrangement. I continued to evade the truth, yet deep down, I understood that my time was running out. The following morning, I was roused by a relentless knocking on my bedroom door. Nash, unmistakably inebriated even at this early hour, was insisting on being granted entry. "We need to discuss the arrangement," he mumbled, his words thick and heavy. "The moment has arrived, Emma." I surveyed the room with a sense of urgency. I found myself adrift, lacking a destination, my savings insufficient for a place to call my own, and friends absent, unwilling to offer refuge. The doorknob ceased its rattling. "Fine," Nash muttered, "but you'll be out by the weekend if you don't figure something out. I'm not in the business of giving things away for free." I listened as he faltered and moved away. 5 days. Time was slipping away, and I had a mere 5 days to secure a new home or confront the inevitable repercussions. A landlord consented to meet me that afternoon, in a basement room of a house occupied by 5 college students, situated in the most undesirable part of town. The room was dreadful, cramped, featuring a solitary small window positioned high near the ceiling. The communal bathroom was in a state of disarray, and the evidence of frequent revelry among the college students was unmistakable, with empty bottles strewn about haphazardly. However, the landlord was open to foregoing the credit check if I provided an additional security deposit. With a sense of urgency, I relinquished almost all of my remaining funds, eager to claim the space. Upon my arrival at Nash's, I noticed an unfamiliar vehicle parked in the driveway. As I neared the front door, the sound of female laughter drifted out from within. It seemed that Nash's estranged wife, Vicky, had returned. Their tumultuous relationship seemed to have reignited once more. "Emma, you should come and meet Vicky. She is returning to reside here once more. Flawless, simply flawless." With a reluctant smile, I stepped into the kitchen. Vicky possessed a striking beauty, one that was edged with a certain toughness, her eyes narrowing as they locked onto mine. "So you're the roommate," she remarked, her tone dripping with skepticism, as if the very notion of a roommate was a flimsy facade she refused to accept. I assured her it was just for a little while. "Today, I stumbled upon a new place, I'll be moving out tomorrow." "Today would be better," Vicky stated with a certain frankness. "This evening, I will be transporting my belongings." 2 hours later, I found myself relocated to the basement room, if one could even refer to a mattress on the floor and suitcases piled against the wall as being moved in. I reclined on the slender mattress, attuned to the revelry of college students celebrating above, my gaze fixed on the water stains that marred the ceiling. How had I found myself in this place? Could it be that Nathan bore the responsibility for his lack of understanding regarding the expectations of men in relationships? Could it be that Dr. Winter is to blame for instilling notions of exploitation in Nathan's mind? Or did the thought intrude uninvited? Was it my mistake to anticipate that another would support my existence without providing much in exchange? I dismissed that notion entirely. I found myself in the role of the victim in this situation. Nathan was the one who altered the rules in the midst of the game, who chose to walk away when the going got tough. It was expected that men would take on the role of providers. Such was the nature of relationships. As I succumbed to a restless slumber, a faint voice echoed in my mind, questioning why I found myself sprawled on a mattress in a dim basement while he reveled in his engagement on a sunlit beach. Half a year has passed since that fateful evening. I remain in that basement room, yet I've made a small leap forward, transitioning from a mere mattress to a proper bed frame I stumbled upon during a clearance sale. Juggling 2 jobs, I find myself immersed in nearly 70 hours of work each week. My feet are in a state of constant ache, my back endures an unending spasm, and my hands bear the harshness of cracked skin from the relentless exposure to cleaning chemicals. It has been a while since I last exchanged words with Nathan, following the end of our relationship. After encountering yet another cheerful snapshot of him and his fiancée, I decided to erase all my social media accounts. Nash sends texts from time to time, typically during his disputes with Vicky, yet I never reply. The final strike occurred when I unexpectedly encountered Justine at the grocery store. Clad in my coffee shop uniform, my hair was hastily gathered into a messy bun, and my face bore the natural look that followed a grueling double shift. She donned stylish workout attire, having just emerged from a Pilates session. "Is that you, Emma? Oh my gosh," she exclaimed, her eyes widening at the sight of me. "I have been attempting to get in touch with you. You vanished from the realm of social media." I've been occupied, I replied with a hint of ambiguity, suddenly aware of the chipped polish adorning my nails and the shadows that lingered beneath my eyes. Have you heard the news? Nathan and Samantha tied the knot last month. A quaint ceremony in Mexico. Joined in matrimony. At this moment, the news, despite all that had transpired, should not have stung, yet it did. A sudden jolt in a place I believed had grown indifferent. It's astonishing how everything falls into place, Justine continued. Recall my constant assertion that men ought to be the providers? At present, Brad and I find ourselves engaged in couples therapy. It appears that this particular mindset was profoundly detrimental to our relationship. I have embarked on a new venture, establishing a charming online boutique. Contributing brings an incredible sense of fulfillment. Such irony was nearly overwhelming. Justine, who had once fostered my sense of entitlement, was now joyfully focused on her own personal growth and the nurturing of her marriage. That evening, I finally summoned the courage to confront the truth I had been evading for months. My circumstances were not the result of misfortune or the actions of others. The result was an inevitable consequence of my decisions, my sense of entitlement, and my unwillingness to engage as an equal partner. I had anticipated that Nathan would support my way of life indefinitely as I played my part. What precisely? Not a source of emotional support. I had retracted that. Not a collaboration in shaping what lies ahead. I had anticipated that he would construct it for me. Not even the semblance of regular intimacy. I had transformed that into an instrument of dominance. I long to declare that this tale concludes with a profound metamorphosis, that I have gleaned wisdom, altered my path, and am nurturing a wholesome new bond with someone who cherishes the evolved version of myself. Yet, the complexities of real life defy such neatness. In all honesty, there are moments when I catch myself mindlessly perusing dating apps, subtly assessing men based on their financial prospects. A flicker of resentment stirs within me each time I witness women being supported by their partners, while I toil away at 2 jobs just to scrape together enough for rent. Long-established patterns do not vanish in an instant, and the mindset of entitlement is a challenging habit to overcome. Yet, I can finally see it for what it truly is. What I can state with certainty is this. The ideology I once held dear, that I owe him nothing in terms of intimacy, that he should simply fulfill his role, has ultimately led to my downfall. It is not merely the unfairness of society towards women who recognize their value, but rather the reality that relationships founded on unbalanced expectations do not constitute true relationships. These are exchanges. Transactions come with terms that may be dissolved if one party believes they are receiving an unfair arrangement. Nathan did not play the role of the antagonist in this narrative simply by declining to serve as my financial provider. He was merely a man with the dignity to turn his back on someone who cherished his wealth more than his soul. I alone bear the responsibility to ensure my own needs are met. It's a challenging lesson, one that must be learned through experience. Perhaps that is the sole method by which certain lessons truly take root,